Welcome back to another video podcast here on the Washington Football Maniacs channel. My name is Greg, along with Brandon Scott, and this channel is dedicated to the Washington Commanders, news and commentary for them. So if you're down with that, please make sure you subscribe to this channel. When you do, also hit that notification bell. There's other ways you can support us. You can become members, join, become a Maniacs. Come on, really support this channel. You can also look at our partners, Mint Mobile, if you want to do that as well. So in this podcast, this episode today, we're going over Jayden Daniels' pro day. He had his pro day yesterday. Of course, Drake May had his pro day today. We may touch on that a little bit, but we may actually do another video dedicated to Drake May. But we really want to focus in on Jayden Daniels today, so we're going to get into that. So Brandon, I know you had a chance to look at Jayden Daniels' pro day. Now, I said this before the podcast that, when it comes down to it, it's kind of hard to really judge people, when they're throwing to these uncontested wide receivers and things like that. And I mean, when it comes down to it, almost every single quarterback coming out of college has the physical abilities. It really comes down to the mental toughness and how quickly can they acclimate themselves to the NFL game. A lot of that comes down to being able to read defenses, pre snap reads, that sort of thing. But overall, what was your impression with Jayden Daniels' pro day?
I mean, I'll say this before I really critique him, man. At the podium, don't walk. Go ahead and sprint to the podium, because at number 2, man, I mean, to me, he's a can't miss prospect behind Caleb Williams, because he's obviously going to Chicago. I mean, Jayden Daniels, a lot more pros and cons. He's got some zip on his ball. He's got some power. He's got some accuracy. He can move around in the pocket. He's got that presence in the pocket. I don't know if he went to Planet Fitness before the combine, but he had, looked like he had a little weight to him, man. He didn't look as skinny as he did, in the beginning of the year at LSU. He had a couple pounds on him, man. So look, that's the biggest thing with Jayden Daniels is his size. That's the biggest red flag for him, is that if you look at the end of his time at LSU, he was learning to slide a little bit, because he knows he can't take those hits in the NFL. It's not gonna happen. He's not gonna last long, man. So the pros, he can throw. His dump out throws, his medium throws were crisp. He has some zip on them, accurate. His deep throws had a little air to it. There's a few throws, a little too much air, but he shows that he can throw that deep ball. He can throw the deep ball with accuracy. Like I said, presence in the pocket. We know he's a dual threat, so he can bounce out and extend plays. But kind of like several quarterbacks in this draft, where he can move around the pocket, kind of evade guys coming in. So I was very impressed with that. To me, he's a real deal. I like what I saw. Now, the negatives, and this is the biggest thing that scouts and executives are really hitting them on, is anticipation of his throws. And to me, the NFL level, he makes a lot of safe throws, and that's been his biggest MO all year at LSU, according to scouts and executives, anybody that watches him play, is that he takes the safe throws. When they're wide open, boom, he hits them. Where in the NFL, you got to rely on your receiver, which is when they're making those cuts, before he makes that cut, that ball has to get out. And that's the biggest thing with Sam Howell, is that if he would have relied a lot more on taking those throws, as far as relying on the receivers like McLaurin and Dotson and Curtis Samuels, I think he would have had a better year as far as really stamping down on those turnovers. And with Jayden Daniels, that's the biggest knock, is that he's got to rely on his receivers. And to me, it's tough not to do that when if you look at a couple of receivers he had at LSU, man. And even coming into DC, McLaurin's a guy who he's a good route runner. Same thing with Jahan Dotson. I still believe that Jahan Dotson needs to be a slot. Totally different conversation. But Jayden Daniels, he's got to get better in anticipating throws. He's got to throw a little risk. He's got to, take some risk, man. That's the factor that takes a quarterback from good to great, is that in the NFL, you can't wait till they're open, man, because very often than not, look, the coverage is going to be on them. And even if you get a completion, it's not going to be a big gain on the completion. It's going to be a possession completion. So he has to get better in anticipation. To me, outside of weight and learning how not to take hits, that's the biggest hit with Jayden Daniels. And like I said, that's the biggest thing the scouts said. But overall, I was very, very impressed. I mean, he's the real deal at number 2, in my opinion. You have to take that guy because he's the best dual threat prospect I've seen since probably Lamar Jackson, in my opinion. And obviously in DC since RG3. And again, that was the biggest thing issue with RG3 is he never really learned how to not absorb those hits. And ultimately, the hits really derailed his career. So, yeah, very impressed. And like you said, you can only take so much from it because there's no coverage, there's no defense out there, you know. There's and so you and like we were talking about before the podcast, and I think that's a really good point. As you know, you had add the mental part of it. You know, when you have a rush coming in, when you got a pass rush coming in, that changes things. When you have time out there to kind of throw to, you know, other receivers, when you got a pass rush coming at you, you know, you've got to make those reads quicker. You got to get the ball out quicker. So that's probably, you know, things I want to see from him. But I'll take what I can at this point. At the number 2, I think we need to go Jayden Daniels.
I will not be upset in the least if it's Drake May or Jayden Daniels. You know, I know a couple of months ago we would have said that okay, Jayden Daniels, he's going to be probably drafted at best maybe 10 or somewhere, you know, further down the first round, and now suddenly he is really, his stock has risen, and you know, he is up there. That, you know, the thing is, we're actually talking about drafting him at number 2, and so that tells you how much that his stock has improved. And of course, you know, Drake May. A lot of people are now kind of talking about, okay, he's probably more of a development quarterback. Maybe he could be. I think he's got the physical tools for us. You know, he's the prototypical, you know, quarterback, 6'4". You know, got some meat on him. You know, he's got a strong arm. We've seen his highlights. You know, of course, he can be pretty accurate downfield. I think he can also be dangerous when he scrambles, but not to the level of Jayden Daniels. You know, Jayden Daniels, he's the type that if he has to scramble out of the pocket, he can really burn you for a big one. And that was one thing that I think that Dan Quinn, you know, Kingsbury and the like are kind of looking at as far as they want a quarterback who can run as well as pass. And certainly, I mean, both fit that description, but, you know, Jayden Daniels is more of the threat, in my opinion, as far as the running. But I do want to make sure that he can protect himself when he runs. You know, I also saw some of the, I don't know if you call it highlights or lowlights of where he got really blown up. So he can take, but I guess that's a good thing. He can take the hit, get back up. So, I mean, you know, quarterbacks are going to take hits. It's just the way it is in the NFL. So he's got to be able to take the hits and get back up. Yeah, I thought Jayden Daniels had a great pro day. You know, all of them are going to miss a couple of passes here and there, and he did. Like you said, maybe some of the anticipation of some of these passes. You know, I want to make sure that, you know, if he's going to be starting from day one, he's got to be able to anticipate a little bit more. He's got to be able to look off of some of these backs, some of these linebackers, and be able to fit the ball in tight windows and things like that. Also, I have a feeling that what you're probably going to see a lot with him in the beginning is he's going to take off running a lot more until he really starts to get comfortable passing on the NFL level, and then you'll see him probably settle back and become more of a passer than you know, runner. But I think that's probably what you'll see in the beginning. But you know, I also watched Drake May's pro day, and like I said, we can do a video on Drake May exclusively. But I thought he had some pretty good passes as well. He had some off passes, you know. But overall, honestly, I was impressed by both. I think that Jayden Daniels had the best pro day out of any of the quarterbacks, and I think he has solidified himself at number 2. And now, of course, the question that we're going to have is, will the Commanders stay at number 2? Because, you know, you released videos, I've released videos and stuff as far as It's possible that um, the Washington Commanders might be interested in J.J. McCarthy. Well, do you draft him at number 2? Maybe not. You trade down and pick up other draft picks. And there'll be a video coming out soon as far as why that would be a good option for the Commanders. So guys, you want to stick to this channel to see that video. But so the funny, the great thing about Adam Peters and all this, Brandon, is the fact that none of us know what he's going to do. I mean, we've heard so much. There were there were editorials coming out saying that Washington is no longer interested in Jayden Daniels. I mean, they were point blank about that, and they were like, because insiders have heard that Washington is interested in J.J. McCarthy, and I'm sure that Adam Peters is probably sitting back laughing at the whole thing because he's like, look, I'm just going to pull this lever here and let's see how many people fall for that, because none of us know who the Commanders truly are interested in. I think the only thing that might be more of a sure thing is the fact that Caleb Williams is probably going number 1 to the Bears. And I don't see us trading up to get Caleb. I don't see that at all. So I really, honestly, at the end of the day, I have no idea who the Washington Commanders are going to pick. All I know is they are going to draft the quarterback, and from what I've heard, they want 2 quarterbacks. Now, that's what gets kind of interesting, is the fact that they want 2. So that tells me at some point they're possibly going to move up, move down, pick up some more draft picks. I could see a scenario where maybe they pick up a J.J. McCarthy and then a Joe Milton, because they want 2 quarterbacks. And maybe they're not interested in what Jake Fromm has for them. Mariota, of course, he's only a stopgap, and he's probably going to be a backup anyway. So it's going to be interesting. I can't really tell you. You're going to have other people out on social media. It's going to be like, this is exactly who the Commanders are going to pick. And I'm like, for the first time in I think the franchise history, Brandon, I cannot tell you whatsoever who they're going to pick. All I know is there's a very good chance they're picking Drake May. There's a very good chance they're picking Jayden Daniels. And there's probably a pretty decent chance that they're going to trade down and draft J.J. McCarthy and then try to fill that offensive tackle position, which, to me, yeah, I would kind of be okay with that, because we still need an offensive tackle, and we know we didn't pick anything up in free agency. So they're going to be drafting that position in the draft. So, yeah, those are my thoughts. Honestly, folks, I'm sorry, but I can't give you a definitive, this is what I predict is going to happen, because for the first time, I have no idea, because these quarterbacks to me are so close together. It could be either one, and I'm going to be okay with either one. I am not team May or team Daniels or team McCarthy. I'm team Commanders, and I want them to draft the best one they possibly can. So I don't know. That's me. That's me, Brandon.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm behind whoever they draft, and like I said, you see the potential with Drake May. To me, when it comes to sports, and it's, whether it's football, basketball, baseball, is everything's about fit. And I think that's one part of sports that people really don't look at, is that people look at the draft position and they say, all right, go ahead and contribute, go play at a high level. And it's like, you got to have the right fit. You go into a situation where you don't have the right fit, the right assets, you're going to fail. Looking at Justin Fields in Chicago, where, it wasn't the right fit. If you look at RG3, you can argue he really didn't fit in Washington. They had to kind of evolve the offense around him, but he didn't fit because he couldn't throw from the pocket, and he was totally against, Mike Shanahan and what he looks for in quarterbacks. So to me, the fact that we have Mariota as a backup, you were expecting this guy to come in and start right away. And Drake May's guy, he's a guy who's going to be developed. And you know, I don't necessarily think it's the right fit for him to come in and start right away because he's going to have to be developed real quick. And, you know, I think that with development, he can be a Josh Allen type quarterback. He's big body. You know, he's not like Jayden Daniels where he can, you know, sprint like Lamar Jackson, but he's a guy who can extend the play, can absorb hits. So I think he's definitely a guy that can be a starting quarterback in the NFL. But right, and I think he's going to have to be developed. And I think his best case scenario for him is maybe slide a little bit and go to a team where they can have the time to properly develop him and not throw him straight into the fire. Because Jayden Daniels, the fact that he's dual threat and he can extend plays, you know, to me makes him more starting ready. Because you know what I mean? Because look, the O-line is still not where we need it to be. So we need a guy that can be able to get out of trouble and get out of dodge pretty quickly, you know. So that's why I lean Jayden Daniels. But look, don't get it twisted. You have quarterbacks in this draft who can start. And that's why start and be, you know, franchise quarterback. JJ McCarthy is very intriguing because is he more of a West Coast system guy? Absolutely. But he plays the system to a T. Don't forget, Tom Brady's a system quarterback, and he didn't do too shabby. So let's be real. I mean, the list goes on. Kurt Warner, system quarterback. So there's nothing wrong with being a system quarterback when you play that system to a T. And JJ McCarthy, very, very interesting, man, because of his body of work at the University of Michigan. So, I mean, there's a lot of buzz with that. I mean, if you look at San Francisco, where Adam Peters came from, Brock Purdy is that system quarterback. You know, he's not a guy who's really going to wow you with athleticism, but he knows the right throws, the right places to put the ball, and he knows the right way to run the system. And that's why he's played so well. Because if you look at his passing numbers were better than Lamar Jackson, the MVP. So, I mean, he can do the job. Bo Nix, a lot of people don't talk about Bo Nix the way they should because he's a guy, if you look at statistics at the University of Oregon, I mean, he doesn't throw a lot of interceptions and he doesn't give the ball up a lot and he can throw the ball. So if trading back, Bo Nix to me needs to be an option in Washington because he's a guy who I think could step right in and start. Michael Penix, I looked at his pro day too. Obviously, going forward, me and you were going to do probably pro day videos for Penix and JJ McCarthy and Bo Nix. So definitely you guys look out for that, man, because we got a lot of good content when it comes to the draft coming up for you guys. But Michael Penix, a lot of zip on his ball, but obviously with a guy like Penix, you're going to have to reconfigure your old line because he's a lefty. So right tackle becomes the blind side guy and more important. And I mean, do you really want Wiley to be the guy that's saving your quarterback away from getting hit? No. So, you know, this, you know, to me is about fit. And that's one thing about sports that a lot of people don't talk about is that they look at the draft position and say, look, you need to go out there and you need to perform at a high level. And then when they don't, you know, people are quick to label them bust. But if you look at it, and sometimes they are busts. I mean, Ryan Leaf was a bust because he had an attitude problem. It wouldn't fit, and it was none of that. It's just because he was just a jerk. But you know, it's all about fit and just finding the right quarterback for the right fit. And like I said, they draft Drake May. I'm behind him. Like I said, he's got the intangibles. It's just, it's just the best situation for him to come right in because he needs development. And don't get it twisted, Jayden Daniels, he needs development too. He needs to, gain some weight. And I still want to see more as far as, having a defense on him. Because it's one thing to throw two guys wide open and has, in front of scouts, but look, when this guy is going to hit you across the middle, that's the type of throw I want to see him make. You know what I mean? So I think we don't lose, and it's crazy that you bring up two quarterbacks because it just echoes RG3 and Kirk Cousins, and I look, I agree with that move. Definitely have a fallback plan. Definitely have a guy that you can develop also. And I think that's a great plan. And, I liked it when they did with Kirk Cousins and RG3 because, look, RG3 had his injury issues and Kirk Cousins came in and he played at a high level. Now, we can get into playoffs and all this other stuff, but as far as individually with his mechanics as a quarterback, Kirk Cousins played well in D.C., very well. And I was one of those people that thought that maybe we should have paid him. In my opinion, I thought we should have retained him because he went to Minnesota and he shined. Playoff record or not, in the regular season, he put his teams in the best position to get to the postseason. So, again, and kind of in closing, man, I'm getting on my soapbox because I'm excited about the draft. But I think in closing, man, it's a can't miss draft. You trade back, you get that left tackle of the future. Even if at 2, Jayden Daniels to me could be a franchise quarterback. I think Drake May can develop to be a franchise quarterback. I think Bo Nix can be a franchise quarterback. JJ McCarthy can. I mean, even Michael Penix in the right situation, he's got high upside. So this is a quarterback sexy draft, man. It really is. And you cannot lose in this draft. I mean, if you lose in this draft, you're not trying to win, man, because it's so many good prospects. So I think that all the stars in aligning for this franchise. And we said it time and time again, Greg, all year long. New ownership. I mean, new GM. I mean, we have adults in the building now. I mean, the general manager knows what he's doing. Looking at the coaching staff, I'm excited for Dan Quinn. And then you add the fact that a new quarterback, year one, I definitely think that we can run with the big boys in the NFC East. But I think 3 years, 4 years from now, you're going to look at that contender in DC.
Honestly, and I know I probably have. I talk about this. I probably have my rose colored glasses, burgundy and gold colored glasses on. I don't think it's going to take that long. Honestly, I think that assuming that we hit on quarterback, I really don't think it's going to take very long for this team to be right up there contending for a Super Bowl. It could be as early as 26, because this team, I'm already seeing it. They haven't even put one foot out in the field yet, and we've already seen Adam Peters go out and find high quality guys who can really contribute. And even if it's just guys for like a year or so, it's enough to where we can actually go into the draft and draft, the best player available at that position and fill out this roster. And in the next couple of years, you expect this roster to be built the way it should be built to contend. So I really, honestly, I think that's the one thing, Brandon, they have to get right is quarterback. And, quarterback development is going to be paramount, certainly, for this franchise. But I'm so excited because I feel like right now we as in the Commanders have the upper hand. We have so many options, and I really honestly think, like you said, unless you're trying to lose in this draft, I think that there isn't just one move that the Commanders can make that will give them, a great franchise. They got so many options. They don't really necessarily have to draft anybody, a quarterback at number 2. But certainly some fans are going to hear that and be like, "You're talking smack. Please do not say that." But that's just it. They have the options, and the only other position I do worry about is they have got to address the left tackle position. I do feel confident they're going to find a left tackle in the draft, but they do have to fill that position. So left tackle and quarterback are the two positions I would say. If you can only name two, those two are the 1A, 1B, and 1A and 1B as far as what they have to draft. But outside of that, Brandon, I'm very excited. I can't wait for the draft for this team. Just real quick, one thing that I laughed at when they were interviewing Jayden Daniels was, what is the one thing that you keep constantly hearing as far as a knock on you? He didn't even hesitate. He said, "My weight." So, he's like, he knows he's heard it. And, the thing is, this is my offer. If Jayden Daniels gets drafted by the Commanders, he is more than welcome to come and spend a couple of weeks with me. I will make sure he gains any weight that he wants, because I can just look at commercials of food and gain 5 pounds. So I got confident I can get him another 20 pounds on this frame.
Yeah, he might mess around and be Dante Culpepper, man. Like...
Hey, man, what can I say? I love pizza.
Hey, man, me too. Hey, I'm with you on that, man. I might have some pizza tonight.
That's right. I just had it. But, yeah. So, yeah, folks, I am seeing a whole lot more Jayden Daniels fans that are being more vocal than Drake May, and that's fine. I'm excited. I didn't really get to watch a lot of college football, but after spending some time and studying and looking at these guys and pro days and whatnot, I'm excited. Like you said, I mean, this is like one of the best quarterback draft classes that the NFL's had in several years. And so I don't think that you have to try too hard to really land a great quality quarterback. You know, and some of these guys probably should not start in year one, but you can start them year two, year three, and they are going to be your quarterback, your franchise quarterback for the next 10 years. I really think that of a lot of these guys. There's probably not going to have a draft class like this next year. And so I know that was some of the comments that were made in previous videos, you know, because even before free agency, I was like, hey, I wouldn't mind if the Commanders wanted to bring Cousins back. And a lot of people they didn't like that because they're like, you cannot pass up a quarterback in this draft. Of course, I did say, who's to say you wouldn't still draft the quarterback? You can still draft the quarterback and have Cousins start. But yeah, I mean, this is a very rich draft in quarterback. And I really don't think outside of Caleb Williams, and maybe some people can even argue, including him, I don't know of any clear cut number two at this point. I do think that Jayden Daniels is probably better at this point, leading than Drake May. But let's not get into it too much because I think at the end of it, we got to make sure that we're not, you know, invested in these guys so much in our minds that, you know, we're going to be so mad when they pick the other quarterback that we didn't like. We got to keep in mind, folks, these guys are awesome. And no matter who the Commanders pick, we're going to be set. I think, honestly, we're going to be set for the next, hopefully, decade at least. So we got to believe that. We got to know that, you know, Adam Peters and company are doing exactly what they need to do. They're going to make the right choices. And we gotta believe that. So with that said, that's pretty much it as far as our talk with Jayden Daniels. Folks, if you of course, there's going to be a lot of Jayden Daniels fans and probably Drake May fans that are going to be commenting. But if you had a chance to really check out the Pro Day, let us know in the comments some things that you saw. Maybe some good things, some bad things. You know, certainly we shared some things that we were like, hey, you know, that's good, but this needs fixing or whatnot. Let us know what you think about these quarterbacks. And like I said, we'll try to come out with some other videos to talk a little bit more about the Pro Days with some of these other guys. Brandon has had a little bit more opportunity to check out guys like Penix. I've yet to watch Penix Pro Day, so I'm going to sit down and watch that one. I did watch J.J. McCarthy, and I watched, of course, Drake May. So we'll probably, in our next video, we'll probably talk Drake May, because why not? So that said, Brandon, do you got anything else before we roll?
No, sir. Like I said, looking forward to the draft, and like you said, Greg, we're definitely gonna put out a lot of content as far as looking at these guys from the quarterback position, because look, that's the hot topic now. So we're definitely gonna do some reaction to J.J. McCarthy, Bo Nix, Michael Penix, Drake May coming up next. So, like I said, I think we can't lose in this draft. So,
Absolutely. Okay, folks. Well, that's it for this video. Please give it a like. And if you didn't like it, hey, that's okay. We love the interaction. So just give us something. Give us a dislike if you like. But if you did like it, please consider sharing it with others who want to check out this channel. We really appreciate it. Again, you know, visit our partners at Mint Mobile. And with that said, we both will see you in the next one held to the Washington Commanders.